So I was going to talk with regards to the issue of climate change. And if you look at what's going on all over the world and all the third world countries and other economies in the world, they're having so many surprises with floods being worse than they used to be, with droughts being worse than they used to be, with everything just being more extreme and resulting in hunger and desperation and homelessness than than they would expect, than they plan for. But I think a lot of this is also, some of this is also because we need to start rethinking how we're doing things. We need to start thinking more in terms of planning for climate change and planning for um, the possibility of drought and lack of rain for long periods of time, or erratic rain and floods that happen in places and moments that is unexpected. We just need to start thinking more about where do you build, where are you building, even on the government level, obviously, but even on the businesses level too. Even on the businesses level that are building in certain places, they need to start thinking more about what is the climate change effect on this area going to be. This sort of sustainability outlook needs to be a part of the way we do things, so that when things happen, they're not a complete surprise, or they're not as big of a disaster as they would be if nobody gave it any forethought and just did everything business as usual and then acted completely surprised when the disasters happen. So just more thought into um, what we're building, and um, what the landscape, what the environment is projected to sort of experience over time. There needs to be sort of that kind of thought into just kind of projecting what it is, what is this environment going to sustain based on what we know right now by climate change, based on what things are looking at, based on what things are shaping up to be. What is that going to um, what is that going to cause in terms of impact? And so how do we mitigate that? How do we plan for that? There needs to be more sort of taking all those things into consideration. So that way, when it does happen, there's some planning ahead, there's some thought ahead of it, and there's some sort of structure for managing it. And it's not just, oh, look at this sad situation, look at what climate change has done, as if nobody has been talking about it for the last 15 years. It's been everybody's mind, but it's not enough. It has to also go into policy of government, of businesses that engage in construction, that engage in farming, that engage in activities where climate change is directly related to it, so that we can kind of gauge what to expect and then do something about it before the disaster occurs, so that it's not some sort of complete surprise. So yes, seeing all these devastations with climate change is terrible, but it's also sort of like a wake-up call, I suppose, a wake-up call to start taking into consideration more what is projected to happen in these areas over the next decade to whatever, so that there is more thought in terms of how to structure around what is projected in these areas. Because I wish life was a beach all the time in terms of what we expect. But we know that tides rise, and we just know that we're going to experience a lot of surprises with weather patterns, etc. So we should learn to plan for that in the way that everyone that's engaged in business or engaged in a government agency that is related to the environment in that way needs to think ahead about how these events, these sort of events or changes can affect them, so that there's more um, you're working with the climate instead of being surprised or trying to work against, even just working with it and trying to see how you can mitigate the effects of it, to just be able to keep everybody alive, and to keep the people you know in good condition and thriving in all the things that we want. So yeah, we need to, in these communities, plan, in businesses and government, plan for climate change and not just react to it and be traumatized by the sudden onslaught of the event of the major weather events. So if we do that, that should make it a lot easier for things to just keep moving along, and less devastation, less having to start from scratch, because there's wisdom about where to build in the first place and how to build and what kind of infrastructure to use that'll sustain itself better in certain situations, or contain heat better, or just things like that. There needs to be more forethought into all of that, so that um, we don't have to spend more later, because there's more time and thought spent at the beginning. And I think we get the idea that